everyone, I'm Kenny and this is Sagebrush Soul. In this video I head home from Arkansas and wrap up this amazing road trip to the Midwest covering 8 states, over 4,100 miles, and I announce 9 individual events. If you followed the series thus far, you know how I've been preparing my 2002 Chevy Tahoe for this trip, and hopefully others like it. You saw the thumbnail, so you probably think you know how this turns out, but there is a twist, so make sure and watch to the end. The morning after our last event at the Arkansas-Oklahoma State Fair, I struck out just before dawn. I'm not a huge fan of toll roads and I could have avoided them, but I really wanted to go home a different route than I came and see more country under my tires. So I headed for Tulsa with plans to make it to Nebraska on my way home. As I traveled through the heartland, I had plenty of time to think back on my trip. One of my favorite things about it was having the opportunity to stay at the monster truck drivers' homes. We practically lived together during the show season in a trailer hood of sorts, but we're all so spread out across the country we rarely see each other's actual homes. I want to say a huge thank you to Brandon Swick, owner and driver of Geronimo, Aaron, Amy, Axel, and Avery Basil of Double Action Motorsports for their hospitality and generosity. I meant to capture some content while I stayed with these amazing people, but I chose to just drink it in instead. And while I'm thanking people, I want to thank Devin Scott for helping me get acquainted with the 4 States truck parts crew and making us feel at home in Joplin. And the whole Live a Little team for picking up my slack and letting me take this trip. And of course, all of our drivers and competitors, and especially anyone that bought a ticket to our events to let me do this for a living. And while I'm at it, if you're still watching, thank you. I did do a fair amount more exploring that ended up on the cutting room floor due to poor filming locations, camera malfunctions, or I found it difficult to make the footage comprehensive. I may put all of these in a video in the future, but for now I just want to wrap up this series and move on to other things. Back to the trip home, all was going very well. Thoroughly enjoyed the drive. My original plan was to get to Sidney, Nebraska, and the closer I got, the more I thought I might be able to get to Laramie or Rock Springs. But just as I was getting off the Sidney exit, the Tahoe started to make a pretty bad noise. Well, I'm in Sidney, Nebraska, in a hotel. As you can probably see, I'm not what you would call stranded here, because the Tahoe is running, it's moving, but I'm pretty sure that I grenaded the front end, and I've conferred with Jeremy Pritchard, who not only does he know the old stuff, but he is very, very familiar with this vintage of Chevy Tahoe because he used to work at a dealership. Started making a terrible noise 10 miles away. I thought it was actually static, is what it sounded like. And I'm like, how am I getting static with Bluetooth on my stereo? So I didn't even know there was a problem until I hit the off ramp. I heard the noise and felt something binding up as I was slowing down. I immediately assumed that it was a brake caliper that fell off, which happened one other time after I redid the brakes on it. I don't know if I didn't get them tightened up enough, but I was positive that that's what the case was. I called Skyler, let him know there was something wrong with it. He said that maybe you kicked a rock up into one of the brakes. I was like, brilliant. That's probably what it is. That's exactly what it sounded like when I could actually hear the noise. That's not it. I'm pretty sure we grenaded the front end, and I have no complaints. That thing got me on a 35 right now. We're at about 3,600 miles on the road trip. By the time I get it home, we'll be at 41. But all I need to do is disconnect the front driveline. And again, I've looked at everything else. I've talked to Jeremy. We're probably 95% sure that's what the problem is. But all I have is my jack that came with the Tahoe. I don't want to buy jack stands. I already bought a bunch of shit that I didn't need. Like, I don't have room for anything else. So I need to pull the front driveline, which will free up that front end in the Tahoe. And it's only 4 bolts and a pry bar. Could have bought one of those. There's a Walmart just a couple of, not even minutes from here, honestly. But I didn't want to buy a jack and jack stands. And so I'm hoping to go make a friend tomorrow, but I'm willing to pay him $100 to pull the driveline, or at least loan me a set of ramps or let me put it up on a lift. But all the ground clearance stuff I was talking about on the Tahoe, it wasn't because I was going to be doing a bunch of off-roading in it. I want to be able to get underneath it, and I can't. I didn't pull the running boards. I didn't put the lift on because I was concerned about it causing me problems. But if I could have got underneath it, removing the driveline is probably about an 8-minute job, and it would free that up, and I would be able to get home. But spent the whole day here. I'm editing the second video of many that I filmed on this trip, Earlier today, I did the Shiioko podcast. I'm just doing today what I would have done tomorrow. Tomorrow's Monday. I got stranded on Sunday. Nothing was open today. I went up to the Love's Truck Center, and there are so many semis backed up. He's got 10 trucks that need a bunch of stuff. He said, any other time I would help you out. For liability, because the world is so litigious, they wouldn't loan me a jack and jack stands to pull 4 bolts and a pry bar. I've got every tool I need to pull that driveline except a jack stands, and a pry bar. It's all good. I know something great is going to become of this. I can't remember what I said before, but I think I'm 3,600 miles into the trip. But, a few bucks and I'll be able to get that done. I just can't safely get underneath it, and I'm not going to let this trip kill me. I'm tired, but the best kind of tired I've ever been, except for a couple of things that I can't talk about with me and Vicky that it would get reported on YouTube. I exhausted myself with history and so many amazing things on this trip, and the shows were fantastic. At some point on the Full Wiggy Tilt podcast, we'll talk about all that stuff. But this was about me going and being somewhat nomadic and doing what I've always wanted to do. Even if it isn't the driveline, if it's something bigger, something worse, I'll figure it out. But I've spent the day sitting around where I could have probably tried to be a little bit more MacGyverish and get that driveline out. If I had to, I would have. And that's it. But anyway, we almost did it. We're less than 10 hours away from being home. I'm ready to be home. I'm exhausted. But I will report tomorrow on what we find out. We're going to get the rest of the way home, and everything's going to be all right. If you can keep that mindset, it always works out, no matter what. Even if I have to sell that damn thing for a couple $1,000 and rent a U-Haul to get home, it's going to be all right. Well, my new friend Randy here at Randy's Auto Care in Sydney helped me out. He pulled the driveline out. Just took him a minute. I don't even think he wanted to be paid for it, but I insisted. Told him he saved me a lot more money than what I paid him. But here's the thing, you're getting this real time. I don't know if that fixed it. Fixed it. I think I'm paranoid. I don't know if you can tell. Definitely quieter, but I go by a car here or something and see if it echoes off of buildings where I really noticed it. I think we're good. I'm gonna take a back road from Sydney to probably at least go to Kimball, and just to make sure everything's okay. I can hear something out there, but I'll let you know. 55 now, and it's not clunking or anything like that, but I think hearing the wind passing over is making me a little paranoid. But no binding, no nothing. I think that solved the problem, so I'll report. I got 70 or so miles down the road. Took the back roads at first. Everything seems to be going all right. Just sitting here at a truck stop outside of Burns, Wyoming. I'm about to meet Vicky's oldest son that I've talked to him on the phone and stuff, but never met him in person. Gonna say hi to him, and then we're gonna get going. Should be in Rigby before dark. Looks like there's a potential for some weather, not snow, fortunately. Got 4 states of bugs off the windshield. It's less than a 10-minute job to pull that out, but I do want to thank Randy again very much for doing that. Sydney, there's plenty of shops in that town, but also I think there's still some harvesting going on, but everybody was just flat booked and busy. And Randy hurried and did that. I wouldn't expect that as you're traveling, but I imagine a lot of people watching this has had more experience with that. I mean, I'm on the road all the time, and 90% of the things I could have fixed myself, and there was a lot of different ways that I could have probably position the Tahoe to get the driveline out, but it was worth another day in a hotel. I got a lot of editing done yesterday, but it was definitely worth it for me to have a lift and do that. And again, insurance. Nobody was willing to loan me a jack or anything like that to be able to do it myself. So I put on my nice clothes this morning and went into town. But I cleaned up a little bit and put on nicer clothes, and it looked like some weirdo. But the almost 17 days was the soonest that they said they could get me in. All right, he was over there fueling up, but I didn't even see him. But I've officially met Greg, and we're officially on the road again. A couple of fuel stops, but we're gonna go real good. I went around and checked everything, the heat on everything. All the hubs are just right where they need to be. Tires look good. So, we're gonna continue on to Rigby today. Tahoe seemed to be doing just fine, and it looked like I'd make it to Rigby before dark. But just as the weather took a turn, something happened. Something's wrong. Doesn't sound good. There's a road up here that I'm going to try to get off on and hopefully see what's up. Sorry to keep bugging you. I just started up out of nowhere again. It's the weirdest thing. No drive shaft in there. It did good for 300 miles doing 75, 80. I don't know. Could it engage itself?
Possibly. I mean, the actuator uses heat to expand. There's actually two kinds, but if it's original, it's got a heat-activated sensor, and when it expands by heat and pushes the gear in.
Huh.
Unless it's been replaced and has the electric one.
Gotcha.
But if it's the heat one and it's built.
With no clear conclusions, I was in a pickle either way. I figured if I'd had to call a tow truck, I was going to make it as short as possible and head for Rock Springs. There I have friends with shops and tools, and I can make a less desperate decision as to keeping it or leaving it behind. Oddly enough, a few miles down the road, the noise went away. At Rock Springs, I fueled up, touched base with headquarters, and with 2 miles of light left, my adventurous side took over and I headed for Rigby. I made it to headquarters just after dark, with the Tahoe making only one little noise for a fraction of a second. The next morning, I went to grab some groceries just 2 miles away, and what I think was a transfer case gave up on me in this intersection. I am one lucky dog. That's the end of this trip and this travel series. The Tahoe, however, will live on. After getting me home on its last leg and providing me with miles of smiles, it's proven to be a keeper. So stay tuned to the channel to see what I ultimately wind up doing with it. I'd tell you, but I don't know yet. In the meantime, you may have spotted this little guy in the first video of this series. This is my old Blazer that my middle daughter had for quite a while. She was kind of done with it and wanted to get into a new vehicle, so she kind of gave it to Maddie. Maddie put a few $100 into it. Decided it really wasn't a project that she wanted to do, so either me or Skylar are buying it back from her, I'm not sure, but it may be a potential Buzz Factory vehicle, or I might just flip it, but one way or the other, it'll be another fun upcoming project that we'll do in the shop. But it's a good little rig. It's the best thing I ever had in the snow. Thank you to all who contributed to this journey, and thank you for watching. I'm Kenny, and may the best of your past be the worst of your future.